Two boys in a boat. For Ralph and Irvine. They rowed out the bay in their little boat and reached the sea, and then looked at each other as if to say, "So, now what?" They stared at the green sea like thirsty men near a well and felt the sun beating them and sweat trickle down their faces. Their skin was beginning to lobster and their arms sting. They had forgotten to bring some food and drink, their thirst increased with each row of the oars. Still, they saw something in the distance which was so beautiful and graceful. They hungered to know more as they watched it dancing in the water. The thing they saw was like a woman who had forgotten that men existed and could dance how she liked. They thought about rowing further out but believed it would leave them too far from the bay. And besides, no one knew they were here. Then the thing they saw vanished from sight, disappeared, so they began to think it was a trick of the mind brought on by the heat and thirst. With tired and sore arms, they rowed back to the bay feeling their limbs turn to wood just like the oars they had been using. One of them was beginning to get blisters in the palms of his hands from gripping his oars too tightly and the other a skelf. Neither was going to admit to the other that they had had enough and wanted home. It was then that the wind picked up and buffeted their small boat. They put down their oars and held the sides lest the wind capsized them. As they tossed about, so did their minds. The wind lifted, and they rowed on back to the bay, but then came the rain which soaked them through and left them cold and shivering but still with their thirst. As they saw the bay in the distance, they felt their hearts lift like birds must when flying through the clouds. An old steamer had sneaked up behind them, for they had only eyes for the horizon that day and none in the back of their heads. As the steamer came too close, they nearly lost both their oars, and one of them swallowed a mouthful of bitter sea water when the bigger boat sprayed them. As one spat out salty water, the other laughed but frowned soon enough when a seagull dropped its load on his head. That made his brother smile and feel a little less queasy. The one with seagull dropping on his crown then dunked his head into the water and rubbed furiously at his hair but stopped when he saw something swimming towards him with an open mouth, teeth bared. He jerked his head out of the water just as that something struck the side of the boat. Both rowed faster now than ducks wade through water and felt relieved when they returned to the bay. As they stepped off their small boat, they stumbled because sitting down all day in the heat had made them dizzy. On land, they let out a sigh and looked out to see the thing they saw earlier waving to them then, as if to mock them. It blew an exaggerated kiss with its tail and disappeared back into the water.